first of all. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity for the voters of St. Paul to come together to discuss some important issues and to move forward in the plan that you have in front of us. In your name we pray, amen. I'm actually going to flip up the agenda a little bit. I know I said we'd do the core committee update last. We're going to ask Mr. Bogle to come up and give us an update on that process right now, straight away, so we can hear what's going on there. So, Mr. Bogle.
All right, good morning. Just a quick update. As the last update you got was an email blast talking about how we have two candidates that we really like. We're waiting on them for them to see if they want to do a pre-call visit. We have heard back from one of them. They did unfortunately accept that call. It was obviously good for them, unfortunate for us, but they did accept that call. The other one we're still waiting to hear. We don't know officially yet, so we don't know every detail on it. So I reached out to him last week to see, just waiting to hear back from him. Obviously, if he says he'd like to come, we're going to move forward with the pre-call visit on that. If he doesn't, we do have still our list of candidates, as well as reaching back to the district itself to possibly see if there's any further names that might go along with that, since it has been since January when we first got the list. So it's been a little bit, so there might be some additional names to add. So at this time, the best thing that we can continue asking is for prayer for this. It's not a quick process. It can take up to 2 years at times. So we just ask for continued prayer through this, as God has a plan for this church, the school, and the campus. So that's all I have for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And obviously, I think last week, those of you here last week met Pastor John Mueller. He's going to be here next week, and then he's actually going to be missing 2 weeks, and then he'll be back after that. He had a pre-planned vacation, so he'll be here next week, though. Any questions on that process, or? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is the budget. The budget that was sent out to you 2 weeks ago, we had some slight modifications, but I kind of want to work through this process that we've been through. I think we've been talking about through the strategic planning initiative that we've been going through. We've been talking about how are we budgeting around here, and what do we need to be doing. And so our initial budget, we had basically our regular income projected to increase by about 6 points, and that was impacted by the fact that our scholarship fundraising was down to half of where we expected it to be in the school. Our auction was down as well, about 30% net income as well. So we honestly, we kind of expected the auction to not be as good as it was in 2022 because of it was a bumper year. It's a little bit of an anomaly. But that means that overall our budget is at about a 6% increase for income expectations, but our expenses are increasing. Our expenses have been increasing for a number of reasons. Our facilities expense is going to be going up about 23 points, and part of the reason for that is that there's a lot of what I'm going to say is deferred maintenance. We haven't necessarily put the right level of investment over the last few years, and that kind of activity catches up to you eventually. This is the year it's catching up to us. So we're working on a lot of projects that we're going to be going through, and some of that requires some cost, and some of that requires some time, and that's one of the reasons why we put together that facilities and infrastructure team in order to try and help prioritize what we need to tackle with the resources that we have. Our wages from our staff go up. That's we have a policy at the church that our wages follow the district minimum scale, which is I think it's the right thing to be doing. But by doing that, it tracks with the district increases, and that's how wages go up there. And we've put investment into curriculum as well. So this is something that we've talked a lot about with the principal and with our board. So we definitely want to be investing in principal in our curriculum, and that's something that is seen in the budget too. So they're just 3 line items that you can see highlighted there where we have that. And if we just take all of that as is, we would have a pretty pretty challenging deficit budget. So what we decided to do as part of our strategic planning, go to the next slide please, we basically, as part of that plan, we have to do a couple of things. We have to diversify our fundraising. I think we've talked here before about the fallacy of having a single event being the main source of income for funds. And so what the board's been talking about is we need to push to diversify fundraising so we get some additional income. We have to engage our parent community in a manner that is productive and has a return on their time, because you either have time, treasure, or talent to commit, and there's lots of opportunities for people to give in different ways. But in order to engage parents in our school and our preschool and the congregants here, we have to make sure that they're getting the service or the programs that they're wanting. So part of this new Dream Big initiative is actually trying to understand what those programs are and make sure we invest in those right things. And then additionally, we're going through a process where we're looking at where we can find some operational savings through reviewing contracts, ongoing costs, making sure that we don't just operate the status quo and that we can question some things. And there's actually quite a lot of savings that we have there. We have this goal as part of our savings plan, is that we're going to cut kind of 1% across every line item. And that actually is a significant amount of money if you cut 1%, but there are really good examples where if we invest in our new phone system, for example, we get a better quality system and we save about $3,600 a year just by changing out our phones, and that's going to start happening in about a week. You know what I mean? So there's things like that where you just don't even think about. Who would think about changing a phone would you get a better system and save money, right? So it's one of those situations where we just need to go through and we'll be having a program in place to go through and take care of business that way. I think that I'm going to go to the next slide, please. So the plan highlights is our income. We're going to boost our top line. We've started a marketing program. We engage with the team to recruit more children to our school and our preschool. That is, we're going to recruit about 10 more students that way. We have some funds that we're releasing from funds that we've got, about $17,000 or $15,000 that we've got money coming back. We're going to release those into the income stream as well. And then we also are going to set a goal of about $70,000 of additional fundraising that we will do throughout the year. And that is how we tackle the income side. On the expense side, we can actually save a significant amount of money. Given where we are in our call process, we expect probably 6 months potentially without a senior pastor. So we can book those savings as part of our kind of cost reduction. And there's additional things, like I said as well. We can look at those 1%. We can go find additional cost savings. Our solar plan, for example, that we voted on the last of meeting, that's going to save us about $7,600 this fiscal year. It'll be about $10,000 the following fiscal year. So all of these things that we're doing have put us into a situation where we're in a solid financial footing. So that's kind of been the journey that we've been taking. I'm actually going to try and grab Dan's attention. I'm going to hand the reins to Dan, and he can go over the line item and answer any questions he can. So, Mr. Farman? Okay. Dan, you ready, sir? Let's go to the next slide. So this is our income projection. If there's any questions on this, I'll let our treasurer comment. We can ask me the questions while we're waiting for Dan, actually. And you can answer them when he gets there.
I think the questions we call.
So the board has voted on this budget. I think procedurally, Dan is right. I have to accept a motion and a second to approve it, and then we can answer questions on the budget. So the budget is in front of you as presented. It's a slight change from the 1 cent out by a couple of $1,000, but other than that, we're pretty there. Say again. Jen, is that you moving, Jen? Jen, maybe got a second. Okay, thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second on the table, so now we can answer questions about the budget as presented.
Any discussion?
He'll either come and tell you or he'll have you bring it up there.
Okay, well, if there's, you guys are very trusting, I appreciate that, but I will say this, there's an awful lot of work gone into this staff time, board time. I think we're averaging about 2 meetings a week right now. So there's a lot going into this and a lot of work, and I want to say I appreciate the confidence in your saying by not asking questions, I guess. But with that said, all voters, if I'll take voice acclamation, a voice vote, so all those in favor of approving the budget as proposed by the board and proposed by the members in the room, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion unanimously carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. All right, let's keep going. A couple more slides. Keep going, next one slide. And we'll go again. One more. Thank you. All right, so the other thing I talked about was we talked about trying to invest in our facilities and stuff like that. There's a few projects right now that we've got in the works or are getting going on. We've talked about the new solar parking lot. It's really the parking lot's not solar, but the things covering it will be. I hope that makes sense. And then at the same time, we're going to resurface the parking lot. We have obviously had some water damage in here. We're going to have a new roof put on. I believe that is in August. A new roof will be going on the building. That's mostly covered by the insurance that we've been going through. We're going to be doing mural painting at the school and one of the blank walls. It'll create a nice atmosphere over there. We're going to have the school bathrooms being renovated. We're trying to get that going. The OMC, where some of the staff have some great ideas about doing some stuff with the OMC. We're going to try and get that going. And then potentially even about painting the school to make it match. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but we don't actually match on campus. It's like my dress sense, ever so slightly clashing, you know. So when Mary Michael's away with Ryan, like she is right now, she always asks me in the morning, what are you wearing? I feel like that's sometimes where we are at the church and the school. And we've got some water damage to fix and repair in this building as well. We do have funds for that. It's not going to be additional funds. And we have to figure out how to prioritize and get that stuff done. So there's some good stuff going. And if you keep going, I think there's one more slide there, obviously. The other thing that we're talking about is how do we engage in our ministry, and that is something that we've started a lot of these ministry teams, and we started talking about how do we, kind of build that trust. The board is very, very busy right now. I'm very committed, and I do appreciate all the time, but we need to get some more help. And so a couple of things that we've got going on, and you can see the supporting board member. Each board member has been assigned a liaison role with each of these ministry teams. The scholarship review committee, which Kerry's the liaison for, she's also working on a couple of other things as well. We have our facilities infrastructure team, which Dan is a liaison for, and Melinda. By the way, that might be the first time I've ever called Melinda without actually saying Melissa in a meeting. I'm sorry, continuously sorry for that. Melinda's going to be on that team representing the congregation. And if there's any other congregant would like to be on that team, I would like some more membership on that team. That would be helpful too. We have the school advisory team, which Nicole Cook's going to be liaising on. Caden's on that as well. He's as a parent. Mary Michael's on that too. And long outreach, Jan's going to be working with Pasadena, and I will be working with the parents on the parent club side of things. So lots of activity going on versus just like small pockets of groups. There's probably people thinking, well, what about this team? Jan's giving me the LWML spare. But there's all sorts of other groups going on as well, but I think this is a really exciting time for us because we're getting a lot of engagement and looking forward. It's going to be wonderful. All right, thank you. Let's go.
President?
Yes, sir.
Just to point out that these teams are directed by our governance that we haven't been following for a number of years. So these are all things that we should have been doing. And through his leadership, our president's leadership this year, we're finally getting back to our governance and what makes us fine.
Thank you, Dan. I think it's the leadership of the board. The whole board is working solidly on this.
So you're
Thank
good,
you
yeah.
for your support. So the third thing on our agenda today is the MOU with Trinity. This has been passed out now. This memorandum of understanding is a fascinating process and document. There's members in this room that have been working with Trinity and had some meetings with them and exploring what it means to have a partnership with another church. This is a process that I think in our future right now that's going to be happening in a lot more churches. I think there's 10 times, I'm going to get the stat wrong, maybe Pastor Joe or Pastor Alan can keep me honest, but right now in seminary we have something like 50%, I think it is, of our pastors in service are hitting retirement age in the next 10 years, right? So we have somewhat of a challenging situation there, which hopefully we're going to get resolved through certain means. Then the LCMS has got certain programs going on, things like the thing that Vicar 2 has been going through is one of those programs to help backfill there. With the situation with Trinity, we wanted to explore how we could help them. They were getting covered on Sunday worship by Pastor Sebastian and Pastor David Bass, who both of them commute over an hour in the mountains down to them. And they have a small, thriving, very solvent community there in Trinity, but we absolutely, I saw absolutely an opportunity to create a bigger community of Christ by having ourselves kind of work together with how can we explore some things there. And that's what the President Mike wanted us to have a look at. So this memorandum of understanding is basically a document that is setting up a pathway to explore what that looks like. It is a first step in a journey of which I have no idea where it takes us. Okay? So what it could, I don't know what that would mean long term, but this is basically saying, look, we're going to work together. We're going to invite each other to our events. We're going to invite each other to Bible study. We're going to put our calendar events on the same thing. And if those of you come to Wednesday Bible study, you know that some of their membership has been coming. The next step is kind of to explore more of that type of activity. Where could there be some overlap and some alliance, basically. And a part of it is also to allow the ministry of St. Paul to cover worship over there when there is a need, up to, and the agreement says up to 4 times per month. The idea is that they would give us at least 30 days notice of what the requirement is, and then we could, determine how to do that, and then return from that they were tied, and that would be an activity that the staff of St. Paul would cover as part of their work for St. Paul. And then if it's a lay leadership, then we can also cover it that way. But the idea right now is that we would at least have that agreement. Now I know when we're in a situation when we have one senior staff member down, we only have a baker's pastor and we have a pastor doer, that we may not be able to commit to 4 per month at this point. But I think it's still worthwhile having us move forward with this agreement and do what we can in the kind of immediate future. Yes, go ahead. Trinity is in Chowchilla, excuse me. Trinity is in Chowchilla, and when we started this process, we basically had 2 pastors driving past their church every Sunday. Right? So this, and they've obviously it's taken about 6 months to get to this point. And now it's, even Pastor Dewar has been spending more time up here these days. So, but it's one of those things that Pastor Dewar and I and Pastor Alan talked about this. We've got some availability from him to help out, and we're going to figure out how we can cover some other things, maybe through some lay leadership until we get a senior pastor. But right now, the recommendation from the committee that explored that and the board is to accept this memorandum of understanding as a way to kind of move us forward. And their board is meeting this week, or I can't remember, Tuesday. They're meeting imminently as well to agree the same. So this vote today is basically to say, sign that memorandum of understanding, Stuart, and then move forward and that will only happen if they also vote the same way. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the MOU.
So moved.
I don't know know who did that, but Nicole's in charge of picking it up. Okay, Larry did. Thank you. And a second? Thank you, Ken. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, voice vote, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Lastly, is Pastor Allen around? Is he hiding in the back? There he is. Come up here, Pastor. Here you When we first talking about this poor man joining us, I remember the first board meeting we had a conversation about lights, and I think Danny had brought up the word tractor. And Pastor Carroll had said to me, he said at the time of that meeting, he said that you had him a tractor. I think one of the blessings that you've given to us is sharing a lot about you and a lot about your upbringing and your farm and your ranch. I love seeing those pictures, seeing those videos that he made, the way he kind of intertwined that into the message you could get. Thank you so much.
I personally just really favor his haircut.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, I mean, we had to pull together and figure out what can we get you, the man who, honestly, I think you don't really want for anything other than hair, I guess. Maybe on the legs.
Highly overrated for me.
So we did pull together a few items that we'd like to present now, and so if those of you that are hiding some things in the background could come forward. We've got some token of our thanks right now. Maureen, yeah, are we ready? Come on up. Thank you. So we'll do one at a time. We have, this is a fundraising idea that we're going to be working through, and I think you mentioned that you liked one of these as well, so we'll pass that over to you as a token of our thanks, and then we've got a little token of appreciation there as well.
Of all of you out there. You'll get.
And we will miss you. And then Maureen, this is, you want to hand this over? So this is an additional gift. It's a couple of boarding passes. This is one of those situations where when you have an opportunity to thank somebody, you're never quite sure how to do it. And we know that you and Lisa, you're away from Lisa a lot, and you're away from family a lot in the Midwest, and we thought it'd be a good idea to give you and Lisa some time together with your family, or frankly, wherever you want to go. So that is 2 vouchers for some airline tickets for a destination of your choice. So it does say to go to family though, but I'll let you guys decide what that is. So thank you folks for helping me out here. I think Maureen's running away. On a personal note, Pastor Allen, it's been an absolute privilege serving on the board and having your leadership here. You're one of the most humble men I've ever met. I mean, you're one of the most valuable confidants and advisors I've ever had. The time that you've given to me in the days where we've met at 5:30 a.m. and at 6 p.m. and we've kept going, and we've had prayers together, we've had struggles together, but as a leader of this congregation, you've been absolutely outstanding, and we absolutely appreciate it. These things that we're talking about today are only a small share of what you've given to us, and for that we'll ever be grateful. All right, I'm going to close it out in prayer. I can do it. Heavenly Father, as we stand here today, we give you thanks for Pastor Allen and Lisa Steinbeck for the gifts that they have given to us in the form of their leadership, their time, their spirituality, their commitment to loving the world as you have asked them to. Please be with them as they move forward into the next journey that they're going on. Please bless the journey, bless their drive home for the last time. Please be with us as we move forward without them, but help us remember those lessons. Help us remember those learnings that we've had from the time that they spent with us. As we move forward and we look forward with excitement to the next chapter in St. Paul, please instill your Holy Spirit in our hearts, in our mouths, so that we can be out in our community, be out with our children, be out with our parents, out with our families that are out there, as I said, that need your love. Help us go out into the world and deliver the message of love, peace, and grace. And for the meal that we're about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful. In your name we pray. Amen. Dismissed.